So this platform, we are going to consider working with our integers as we worked with the whole numbers in our previous classes. In this case, what you need is to work with the integers. Remember that integers, okay, so we're gonna just talk about the basics of our integers. Remember, when you are referring to the integers, these are positive or negative whole numbers, right? So you're talking of the positive or negative whole numbers. So already we have referred to the whole numbers in our previous classes. So that means we are just going to have a continuation because already some of the properties of the numbers, we already know them, but we're just working with the whole numbers in this case, which is the numbers such as negative. They can be like -3. They can be like -2, -1. You can also work with the 0, 1, 2, and so on, being positive. So we want to see how to apply such numbers in our mathematical calculations. Starting with addition and subtraction, this is going to be a recap of your grade 8. This is what you had in your grade 8, remember? When you were working with addition, a condition where you are combining numbers or that are the integers, positive or negative. So when you are given to add, let's say is 3 plus 2, something that is easier, guys, to add is just to combine 3 of these, then these ones, which are 2, is going to be what? 5. If you're given 3 plus 7, that is going to be a 10. But in most cases where now you are given a condition, let's say it's -3, okay? Then this -3 is going to add a -5 like this. Maybe it's a -4, which is going to add a -6 like this. In most cases, you tend to just have a confusion because of these negatives that we are seeing here. So we're not going to be referring to the number line, guys, where you are given a number, then if you're having a negative, go to the left. If it's a positive, go to the right. Yes, guys, those were just basics. You need to just know the concept behind. So what is the concept behind? As you added numbers 3 and a 5 previously, as it was a positive and a positive, and you obtained a +8, it was because you are working with a positive to a positive. So the answer is going to be a positive. So in the same manner, when you add a negative, you are adding it to another negative. A negative number is being added to a negative number. So the answer is going to be a negative. So what you simply do, you ignore the signs as they are, these ones, you ignore them. Just add the numbers 3 plus 5, that's 8. But the answer is supposed to carry a negative. So these are just like basic rules that you can use. Instead of going back to the number line, what if you are given bigger numbers such as -100, -200? On a number line, for you to obtain this is going to be a lot. So using this concept is going to be easier because you simply refer to the rules or the basics of our laws. So this is what we have. The following rules can help you to add integers. 1, when adding two positive numbers, the result is positive. This is the case that I just referred to. A positive number, which is 3, is being added to a positive number, which is 4. So in that case, you just simply add the numbers. 3 plus 4, that's a 7. All right, so there we're not going to talk much, guys. This is just our basics. Then, when adding two negative numbers, the result is negative. You are adding two negative numbers, a -3 and a -4 being added together. The result will be what? A negative. That is what you're given. So how do you add such? Add the numbers ignoring signs. Just like I said, you have to ignore the signs that you're as if there is no negative. You just add the numbers. What is 3 plus 4? That's a 7. And the answer carries the negative. Then write a negative sign in front to indicate the negative what? Result. Since we said the result must be negative. So you are going to put the negative on your answer. So that's the condition, guys. If you are adding such, you are given minus 100 like this, plus minus 200, no matter how big these values can seem to be. You have a negative, you know that your answer is going to be what? Your answer is going to carry a negative. So simply ignore these signs. You add what is 100 plus 200. That is a 300. Our answer with a negative. So you just put the negative in front of the given number. So you see, guys, even if you're dealing or working with bigger values, this addition is going to be easier if you understand these rules. So this is just for a simpler addition. Then when you are adding a negative number, a positive number, and a negative number, regardless of the order, like let's say you're adding minus 3 is being added to a positive 5, all right? Minus 3 is being added to 5. Or maybe it is a condition where 5 is being added to minus 3. It's 5 plus minus 3. So this is regardless of the order that you are given. But what we are seeing is that a negative number is being added to a positive when the sign is not written. If you do not see the sign on a number, it means there's a plus. This 5 that we are seeing, it is the same as if it's a plus 5. The same here, this 5 is same as if there's a plus like this. So if the sign is not indicated, you must know that there is a plus there. So this is the condition. You are adding, but one is negative, another one is positive. It is different from the last condition that we had, where it was minus 3 plus a minus 4. Yes, you are adding here, but the signs that are on these numbers are the same. Here, the signs are different. So how do you combine these two? All right. So this is what you're going to simply do. You're going to ignore the signs, then subtract the numbers. You ignore the signs, subtract 5 minus 3, that's a 2. All right. 5 minus 3, that's a 2. You ignore the sign, then subtract. Then you take the sign of the bigger number, ignoring this, you take the sign of the bigger number, ignoring to say it has a negative or it's a positive. You ignore the sign. You just take the bigger value by ignoring the sign. In this case, the bigger value here, it's 5. So the answer is going to be positive 2. All right. The same with this one. Answer is positive 2. So in writing positive 2 is just same as 2, guys. Remember I said the positive cannot be written. So it means even if your answer is a positive, you can choose not to write the positive. So this is the statement here. When you are adding a positive number and a negative number, regardless of the order, the result will have the sign of the biggest number. The biggest number in which terms, when you ignore the sign, so by ignoring the sign, because when you are given minus 5 and 2, 2 is bigger than minus 5. So be careful there. But here we are saying the bigger number, in this case, by ignoring the sign. If we ignore the sign, the bigger number is what? Is 5. But in normal cases, like when you are dealing with just numbers, 2 is bigger than minus 5. But in this case, you oppose that because you are ignoring what? Signs. So if you are given minus 5 plus a 2 like this, you are simply going to subtract 5 minus 2. That's a 3. You take the sign of the bigger number, ignoring to say the sign there is a negative. So the bigger number, if we ignore the sign, the bigger number is what? The bigger number is 5. What is its sign? Its sign is what? A minus. So the answer will be minus 3. That is the concept. So you can answer as many questions, guys. So that is the case here. So you subtract the numbers, ignoring signs, then write the sign of the biggest number, ignoring signs in front. The sign of the biggest number, ignoring signs. So if we are given like this condition, 4 plus minus 5 like this, all right? We are adding to what? A negative, a positive number. This 4 is a positive. So this one is positive. This one is what? Negative. So what are you going to do? We are simply going to subtract. You ignore the signs, you subtract. 5 minus 4. Definitely when you subtract, guys, it's bigger number minus smaller number. So that's 5 minus what? 5 minus 4, which is 1. You take the sign of the bigger number, ignoring the signs to say this one is a negative. You just consider which one is bigger, 5 and 4 and 5. 5 is bigger. What is its sign? The sign there is what? Negative. So that is the concept there. If it is minus 4 like this, plus a 5, when you are given this condition, this 5 is a positive. It's just like there's a plus here. So the signs are different. This one is minus, this one is a plus. Whenever the signs are different like this, subtract the numbers. 5 minus 4. What is 5 minus 4? That's a 1. Ignoring the signs, then you take the sign of what? The bigger number, ignoring the signs. Between 4 and 5, which one is the bigger value? The bigger value is what? Is 5. What is its sign? Its sign is a positive. So the answer will be positive 1, of which, like I said, positive 1 is just same as what? 1. So that's the concept there. So using this, you can attempt as many questions as you can. So I just want you to apply this. But as for integers, I want you to be very careful. Mostly you are not going to have like questions on integers, basic questions. They want you to know the basics so that you use them in algebra. They know that once you know how to simplify minus 4 plus 5 to say, okay, it is going to be 5 minus 4 since the signs are different. So it's going to be 5 minus 4, which is 1. I take the sign of the bigger number, so it's going to be a plus. All right? The bigger number is carrying what? A plus. So the answer will be positive 1. Once you know this, you can apply it in algebra when it is given now as minus 4x plus 5x. These are integers in algebra now. So they want you to just know these basics so that you use them in algebra. So just revise your basics as much as you can. Most questions on integers may be on the assessment that you'll be given, the task that you're going to be given. But for exam, yes, for exam, you can have integers, 1 or 2 questions, but most questions will be on the whole numbers, exponents, and those numeric and geometric patterns for this term 1. All right. But I'm not saying do not revise integers. Revise as much as you can, because for you to be able to understand algebra, guys, it's all on these integers. All right. So using this concept, we can attempt the questions like what we are given here. All right. Minus 4 plus minus 5. So using the concept that we have here, we are dealing with the signs that are the same. So I said, if the signs are the same, what do? You add the numbers, ignore the signs, then add the numbers. What is 4 plus 5? 4 plus 5 is 9. Then you take that sign to be on your answer, which is the side, the negative that is common. Adding a negative to another negative, the answer is negative. So you just put a negative on your answer. All right. When you are given a condition of minus 2 minus 3 like this, a minus and a minus, when they meet, they will give us a positive. So this is another part which is important as you are working with the numbers. Yes, we can apply the issue of our laws. We're going to talk about some other laws, which are the properties of integers. But for now, I just want us to use these basics that we are having. When you have a negative and a negative, when they meet like this, a negative gives you a positive. So negative, when it meets another negative, you get a positive. All right. When a positive meets a negative, you get a negative. When a negative meets a positive, you get a positive. When a positive meets a positive, you get a positive. Where am I getting the positive here? This is a negative. Negative to positive, that's a negative. Then positive to positive, that's a positive, all right? So this is where we have negative, negative. These ones are positive. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that if you're given 3 plus 4 like this, maybe you just understand simpler terms. A plus and a plus. This is a plus and a plus meets to give us a plus. So this is simply same as 3 plus 4, which is what? A 7. A minus and a minus, when you are given 3 minus minus 4 like this, there is a minus and an in between when the signs meet like this, in between. So minus to a minus will give you a positive. So that's 3 plus 4, which is simply a 7. That's what I'm trying to say there. If you are given, so these ones, like I say, they just want to test you later on, all right? So here it was going to be minus 2 plus a 3. Meaning to say, we are adding a negative to a positive. That is the condition. Because plus 3 is just like positive 3. So remember I said you are going to ignore the signs. Subtract 3 minus 2 is what? It's 1. Then you take the sign of the bigger number by ignoring the signs. The bigger number will be what? 3. Then what is the sign of 3? That's a positive. So the answer is positive 1, of which positive 1 is same as what? Is same as 1. Just write it as 1. So this is it, guys, about these numbers. So this one is your recap of your grade 8. Just try to work out as many questions where there are questions we can communicate so that we can see. All right, then we also need to apply as you are working with the numbers, you also need applications to square number, to whether there are so many things that you need, all right? So here we referred, okay, let's finish here about the signs. Remember, I was referring to the signs here, combining the signs. This is when the signs combine, all right? Then in a condition where you have got a negative, all right, there can be a negative multiplication. All right, let us just do this one so that does not confuse us. Multiplication. As of a multiplication of these signs that we are seeing here, it follows that you can also multiply a positive, multiply to a positive. It will give you a positive. All right. A negative number multiplied to a negative number will give us a positive. If you have a positive number multiplied to a negative number, the result will be negative. If you multiply a negative to a positive number, the result will be a negative. So as long you know how to multiply numbers, 3 times 2, you know that it's 6. It's positive to positive. But once you have a condition that it's negative 3 times 2, this one, it's positive. So it's negative to positive. What do you get? Negative to positive. The result is what? Negative. So it simply means your answer is going to be negative 6. So can you go through this part, revise as much as you can? So it also follows even to a division, even working with a division. So I just want you to know the basics. A plus divided to a plus will be a plus. Minus divided to a minus will give us a plus. So as you can see, negative, negative, that's a plus. Negative, negative, that's a plus. Negative, negative, that's a plus. So if you consider that, you're not going to go wrong, guys. Same signs, plus. Different signs, a minus. When the signs are different, you get a minus. But when the signs are the same, it is always a plus. All right? Meaning to say, if I divide a plus to a minus, it is going to give us a negative. A negative divided to a positive, you get a negative. That is the condition. So if you actually know that 6 divided by 3 is a 2, when it is now minus 6 over 3, this one is negative, this one is positive. Your answer will be negative. That's what I'm trying to say. So it will be negative 2. So you can apply this in your multiplication, division, in combining of the terms, just to combine the terms. So please try to work out as many questions as you can. All right, then we have got this part also important on our integers. When you square terms, maybe you can actually square, all right, considering the squares and the cubes. All right, a square. To square a number, 2 squared means the number is multiplying itself. 2 times 2. 3 squared, it means 3 times a 3. The number is multiplying itself. So in most cases there, we do not have a problem. We have a problem when it is minus 2 squared, when you square a negative. So be careful in terms of the squares. A square of a number which is positive remains positive. A square of a negative will be positive, all right? So this is it about the squares. If you square a positive number, the resultant will be positive. If you square a negative number, the resultant will be positive, just like minus 2 squared in a bracket like this. Minus 2 squared, when it is in a bracket like this, it means minus 2 times minus 2. So that's negative times negative. You are back to positive. So 2 times 2 is what? 4. So that's it, guys. Take note on this part. This is totally different from minus 2 squared like this. It is different from this one. Minus 2 squared is the whole bracket affected. Here, it means it is the 2 which is being affected by the square. The negative is on its own. So it means your answer is going to be minus 2 squared. 2 times 2. Remember I said 2. A square means a number is multiplying itself. So 2 times 2 is what? It's 4. Your answer will be negative 4. It is different from minus 2 squared like this. Minus 2 squared, it means what is inside the bracket is multiplying itself. Minus 2 times minus 2. So that will be negative times negative, which is what? Positive. So that's positive 4. But here, the negative will be used after you have what? Consider the square. So you must be careful not to say, because I said when you square negative, it will be positive. So once you see that, you say, I said such. No, guys, you must be careful when it is like that. All right. So this applies to questions of this nature. We are given to simplify or to calculate the value of minus 3 squared. So this is the same, all right? The minus here is outside of the bracket, right? So let's write it minus, which is outside of the bracket. But what are we going to get from minus 3 squared? Minus, when being squared, it's inside the bracket, this one. So minus 3 squared inside the bracket like this is equal to 9. When you square a negative, it becomes what? A positive. What is 3 squared? That's a 9. 3 times 3. So meaning to say it was going to be minus 9. Minus times 9 is what? Minus 9. It's minus 9 like this. So we are going to obtain a negative 9. Take note, when you squared minus 3, you got a positive 9 here. But because of this negative, which is outside of the bracket, it is going to affect your answer at the end. All right? So the same part with this one. Minus 3 squared. Minus, then 3 squared. It is different. It is just like we've got minus 1 times 3 squared. So it's just like minus 1 times 3 squared is what? It's 9. So it's going to be minus 9. A minus, it's on its own. A minus, it's on its own. So you square the 3. 3 squared is what? It's 9. So simply, that will be minus 9. So that is the condition when you are working with what? These negative, when you are squaring that negative in, if you're given a positive, you know that it's just going to remain as it is. But for the cubes, we are going to notice that a positive, when raised to the exponent of 3, it will remain as a positive. a negative when raised to the exponent of 3, it will remain as a negative for the cube. If you are given minus 2 to the exponent of 3, the answer will be a negative. It will remain as a negative. So once you raise a negative to an odd number, it will remain as a negative. But what is 2 to the exponent of 3? 2 to the exponent of 3 is 8. 2 times 2 times 2, that is 8. So your answer is minus 8. But let's say you do not understand this. You can simply multiply the numbers, guys. Minus 2 to the exponent of 3. It means minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2 3 times. It is multiplying itself 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So that's minus 2 times minus 2. What are you going to get? That's a positive 4. Minus, minus. That's a positive. But you've got what? This one which is remaining. So you multiply to the minus 2. 4 times minus 2. Positive to a negative. Remember, you get what? A negative. What is 4 times 2? 8. So it will be minus 8. So you can even use this concept or just use what? The rules or the concept that are behind the terms. So this can also be used even if you are working with the square roots. As you shall be working with questions, guys, I want you to use this part, right? Sorry, I want you to use this part even working with the square roots. I want you to apply the same concept for the square roots. So if you know a square, the square root now is the number, like if you know that the square of 2 squared is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. That is the concept. So you're going to notice that we can only determine the square root of positive numbers. Square root of 9, the square root of 4, square root of positive numbers. And these are supposed to be perfect squares. The numbers that are in here are supposed to be what? Perfect squares. You're supposed to have perfect squares. So that you are going to obtain what? An integer at the end. Remember, we're dealing with what? Integers. Supposed to be whole numbers. But as for the cube root, guys, the cube root, you can also determine the cube root of a negative. Remember, you had negatives here and positive on your answers. But as for the squares, take note, everything became positive. So when you are talking about this, they must be positive. But if it is the cube root, like you're given the cube root of a number, the cube root of 8, the cube root of minus 8, the number that multiplies itself 3, this one, the cube root of 8, the number which multiplies itself 3 times to give us 8. That is what? A 2. If it is minus 8, that is what? Minus 2. If you multiply minus 2 3 times, minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2, it will give you minus 8. Remember, we had this one. So you can determine the cube root of a negative number. So these are just the basics, like I said, guys, that I want you to apply in your understanding. You are going to use this in as much as you can, especially in algebra. Also in exponents, we shall be talking of exponents later on. Just the basics. Know these basics. They are very, very important. That is the whole part of your integers. So we shall refer to the properties of integers. In our next class, we need to work out integers, to know some properties, to know application of the BODMAS as we are working with our integers. So let's just try to revise as much questions as we can.